1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
Hey guys.
Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
So guys, it is Friday, just after 9 a.m. Live in the 4th hour of Jesse Lee Peterson's show stream, Monday through Friday, and then Sundays on my channels, the Hake Report. Subscribe, like, follow, share, but don't Sunny, because I want to be different from Jesse. Anyways, I want to tell you guys a little bit about this homelessness crisis that's going on. There's some violence happening over in New York City, and I came across a couple of Drudge headlines that I'm going to present to you. But real fast, before I get to that, I just want to read to you a quick update about this whole Iran thing. Iran. So, according to Drudge, Iran says an oil tanker was struck with a couple of missiles off of Saudi Arabia. Scary, huh? Developing story. They're calling it an act of terrorism in the Red Sea. Associated Press reports Iran said Friday 2 missiles struck one of its oil tankers traveling through the Red Sea off the coast of Saudi Arabia. A mysterious assault not immediately corroborated that still spiked oil prices amid months of heightened tensions at sea across the wider Mideast. There is no acknowledgement of the incident from Saudi Arabia, which in September had more than half of its daily crude oil production knocked out by an assault, which the U.S. blamed on Iran, but who knows who did it? They were thinking it was the Houthi rebels, which are supported by Iran. But Tehran denies that it was them, Iran does. All the attacks came after President Donald Trump's decision to unilaterally withdraw America from Tehran's Iran nuclear deal, the Obama-Iran nuclear deal, which was not a good thing to be in. Trump got us out of it, thank God. But they're acting like this is causing problems, right? I'm sure it causes different situations, right? But anyways, Trump then imposed tough sanctions on Iran, targeting the crude oil sales and shipments. Iranian officials have been warning for weeks that if they couldn't sell their oil, neither would anybody else in the region. Dang, getting tough. I like it when the real men have to make deals. The attack reportedly took place around 5 a.m. and damaged 2 storerooms aboard the oil tanker called Sabiti. State media reported that. It also briefly caused an oil leak into the Red Sea near the Saudi port city of Jeddah that later was stopped, according to state-run IRNA news agency. Well, who knows what's going on? I don't know, but Trump is going to handle it. If he needs to handle anything about it, right? We'll see. So, before I get to calls, and I will get to you guys, appreciate you guys calling in, but hang tight. Let me just tell you about, this is like a disturbing, sad, blame the Democrats type of a story. Because for some reason, in Democrat cities, homelessness abounds. They pretend to care about them, but they leave them out there. It's a mess. They kiss up to the homeless. The homeless people have these homeless rights, even though they're littering and making stuff miserable for the businesses and the residents and everybody else. And some of them are nuts, and some of them are actually violent. I remember I was taking a walk over to Jack in the Box over here, and I was coming back, and there's this restaurant, very fun, popular, long-standing, old hometown type restaurant that I also frequent sometimes, that a homeless guy, black, went in and he was not leaving or something. He ended up getting in a fight with one of the guys who works there, one of the owners actually, causing problems, and this is an old dude that was fighting him. But and then the black dude got arrested, the homeless man got arrested. But they're causing problems, and they're sleeping in front of businesses, turning off people from even wanting to come into the area. So they're making everything worse. You know how this poverty causes crime? This crime causes poverty. These people who are out of control, and they put themselves in a situation where they become homeless. And yes, things are tougher, right, because of the outside circumstances too, I guess. But they're responsible for their own lives, and then they become irresponsible and make everybody else suffer. So over in New York City, a 7-year-old boy, a Drudge headline, 7-year-old boy in critical condition after a random attack, supposedly, by a homeless man who, quote, picked him up and then smashed him to the ground. And I have some clip pieces from this, from, I believe, local CBS News over there in New York. I'm showing a headline of another guy. This is not the homeless man who picked up the boy. This homeless man, looking at the arrest record of the suspect in the killing of 4 homeless men in Chinatown, that was another incident in New York City, recent. I think it just happened over last weekend or something like that. This man that I'm showing you right now on the screen, if you're watching, his name, like he has like a black and Hispanic name, I don't know. But this guy killed 4, almost killed a 5th. That guy, last I heard, he was fighting for his life in a hospital. Homeless people just while they were sleeping. And I'm going to get to that story too. I'm going to give you information about that guy as well, just to show you just a little bit of the 2 examples of the epidemic of homelessness. And these Democrats pretend like they care about them, and they pretend like they care about us, but it's not true. They don't. So let me give you this news report from CBS about this one where they attacked the little boy. And the little boy, I think, is a Jewish boy, because you'll see these Jewish guys talking about it, a grandfather and neighbors. So here goes the quick news reports.
New information in a brutal attack on a 7-year-old boy in Queens this morning. A homeless man is facing charges. Police say the 35-year-old suspect is emotionally disturbed.
What makes this even worse is that this attack was completely random. According to the family, that victim and his older brother were outside waiting for a delivery when that homeless man approached, picked up the 7-year-old, and slammed him on the ground. Awful, huh?
And sorry for my video jumping around. It was that's the typical like CBS News website. It jumps around while I recorded the video with the screen recording. Soundflower, very handy. So they call him emotionally disturbed, mentally disturbed. Let me just blow through a couple more clips about this incident. Part B, Joel.
This cell phone video shows police arresting 35-year-old Lawrence Gendreau. The homeless man is facing multiple charges, including assault and harassment, after injuring Neftali Portnoy's 7-year-old grandson.
Went after him, followed him, called 911, and the police found him. We followed him, walked after him about a block and a half, and then the police finally arrived. And his first words out of his mouth, I'm bipolar, and something about kill the kid. I wanted to kill. I could have killed the kid.
Portnoy followed the suspect for nearly 2 blocks to Metropolitan Avenue and Lefferts Boulevard. He said the child was with his 10-year-old brother in the driveway waiting for a pizza delivery just before 5 o'clock Thursday evening when the shirtless man attacked, body slamming the 7-year-old to the ground. The victim's brother ran inside for help.
We heard that scream. You knew something serious was going on. It was a kid that was picked up and smashed to the ground.
That's crazy. And it's not even like a bad area where they're living, at least not apparently bad. But this homeless guy just walks by. The kids are waiting for pizza. He picks up one of the kids, a smaller kid, I guess, who knows, and just smashes him to the ground. Disgusting. And here's the last bit of that report.
Police say Gendreau is emotionally disturbed. The random attack has neighbors on edge.
As a parent, I'm horrified. I have 3 small children here, and I'm always concerned about safety.
The 7-year-old remains in the hospital after suffering serious head injuries.
The child is intubated and the child sedated. We hope and we pray that God's watching over him and he'll be okay, and that nothing like this happens to anyone.
As for the suspect this morning, he's in Jamaica Hospital undergoing a psychiatric evaluation.
Crazy. And this is why I don't support the so-called insanity defense. Not guilty by reason of insanity. Because, of course you're insane. You're hurting people. Dummy. And if you don't want this, don't vote for Democrats. If you don't vote for Democrats, you kind of deserve what you get. But they continue to just support the Democrats. It's dumb. And I've noticed, like, over here in California, Eric Garcetti, when Trump came into L.A. recently, Eric Garcetti did this Facebook Live acting like he cared about the homeless. He's been in office since, what, 2013, 2015? Eric Garcetti. Mayor Eric Garcetti. He took over after that Mexican guy, Tony Villar, as he's called here on local radio, Antonio Villaraigosa, who partied with that guy that says winning. He partied with him over in Mexico, TJ, I think. But Garcetti, he did this photo op where he went on Facebook Live acting like he's so responsible and not playing politics, showcasing this big new homeless camp place, that shelter thing, and he's in the women's section of the homeless shelter that he helped make beds in, and he made sure to tout the fact that he's a military guy. I hope my the way I made the bed matches up to my military training, because he's all, just bragging. And then he accuses Trump of just playing politics, because Trump's noticed the homelessness crisis. It's been touted on Tucker Carlson and Fox News, which Trump watches, rightly so, and all that madness. And then this other guy, the governor, Gavin Newsom, who used to be the mayor of San Francisco. Think about how bad San Francisco is. It's even worse than LA here. Needles and assaults and poop, feces, just a mess. And so Newsom is pretending that he's not playing politics and pretending that he's dealing with the homelessness crisis. It's not. They're not. They're fakes. The biggest cities all up and down the east and the west coast, full of homelessness. Thank you, Democrats. And you have to blame the homeless too for becoming homeless. A lot of them don't care, and a lot of them are on drugs. Not all of them are going to be violent, so you can tell them to leave. You can't be here, get out of here. And some of them will comply. But some of them you don't want to mess with. You don't want them in your area. But they want to pretend like they're standing up for homelessness rights. And I'll tell you about this next one in a minute, but I want to get to some calls. But this next one, you're going to hear a story of this so-called nonprofit that bailed this guy out of jail. And then later he went on to murder some people in their sleep. Crazy. So hang tight, though. I'm going to get to some calls. And then more story, and then calls, and all that. T out of Alabama. First-time caller on the Hake Report. Wow. Thank you, T. How are you doing?
Yeah, what's up, James?
What's up? Nothing much.
Yeah, good, man. Good. It's hard to get into your blood sugar. You cut off on it today. But that's cool.
I don't know what you're talking about. You talking about Jesse?
Yeah, I'm talking about Jesse. Yeah, I was on the line, man. So he ditched my call, but that's cool.
Oh, you probably called late or something.
No, I called real early.
How early?
Make sure I get in the line. When y'all first start taking calls, man.
So you were on hold for 3 hours? I don't think so.
No, like I said, I guess when he saw that I was on the thing, he just wanted to disconnect my call. But that's just the coward.
No, I don't think you should just make accusations without knowing.
Oh, like Jesse does all the time without knowing?
I don't know, but you should. Are you justifying it just because Jesse supposedly does that? You're justifying doing wrong?
No, I'm justifying because say what I claim to be doing.
No, because you just made something up and you lied on Jesse, as if he dodges your calls.
Yeah, he does.
No, he doesn't.
If you disagree,
Snake alert!
Like I said, if you disagree with the Mr. Peterson, he'll sit there he'll cut you off quick, like the caller that called in on the show.
No, that's not
that
true.
was
He'll
asking about some of the stuff that he was so wrong on, and he didn't want to hear.
That's not true. He cuts off people that don't listen and don't have an actual conversation. The ones that refuse to answer questions.
This guy was trying to have a conversation with him, Jack.
No, you can't have a one-sided conversation where you're the only one who gets to have your say on what you want to say. Talk about.
Jesse the one, right? And Jesse is the prime example of somebody that does.
He's the host. He runs the show.
Yeah. He lets.
Yeah. See.
As long
Thank
as you. Agree with
exactly.
Him, let you talk all day.
Not true.
Yeah. Yeah. You know it.
Not true.
You know it, but like I said, man.
You're a liar.
You gotta work for the man.
Lying.
You got to work for him. Okay.
Lying, immature.
You know what? You sound just like it, man.
Oh, shut up, James. Everyone is a snake.
Things you do, man. You do the same little things he do. Want to interrupt, get childish instead of having a conversation, man.
You're one to talk about childishness, T. Anyways, what's your question?
James, my question is this, man. I'm gonna ask you a straight up question.
All right.
Do you believe in everything that Jesse said?
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's he wrong about? What's he wrong about?
Okay, when it comes down to the Bible, do you believe about Jesse when he said, you don't need to read the Bible, you don't need to understand the Bible, just read it and let it just go away? Do you believe that mothers are?
He didn't say you don't need to understand it.
Do you believe that mothers are all the problems for all the world?
You're saying stuff that Jesse doesn't actually say.
Oh, okay. Where he said you got to, in order to get with God, you got to forgive your mother to get to the Father.
Yeah, if you don't forgive your mother, then you're not going to enter the kingdom of heaven.
Okay, so that's and all that.
You think that you can get to the kingdom of heaven without forgiving your mother?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
You do? So you haven't forgiven your mother?
Say what?
You have not forgiven your mother?
I have nothing to forgive my mother about, man. My mother has done no wrong.
That's called denial. That's called denial. Yeah. So she doesn't sin? Your mother doesn't sin?
There you go, Jesse Jr. Yeah, I said my mother didn't sin.
You said she hasn't done you. You said she's done no wrong.
What that have to do with me forgiving her? If she's sinned, that's between her and God, man.
Yeah, but she sinned against you.
I can't forgive her for her sin.
I know, but she did sin against you, evidently. Because most people that deny that, oh, my mother was a nice lady. When you dig deeper, you find out the truth.
James, there's a difference between someone who's. Is there anybody?
So you don't.
Besides Jesse?
Huh?
Jesse's perfect human being, right?
Yeah, he says he's perfect, which is what Christians are supposed to be.
Is Jesse perfect, James?
Yeah.
He is.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, he got y'all good.
Why? Why do you say that?
Y'all afraid of Jesse Peterson, man. Y'all afraid.
So you say we're afraid just because we acknowledge that he's real and you're fake?
No. I mean, not because you're saying he's perfect.
Yeah.
So you saying this
Christians
man
are supposed to be perfect.
Perfect. Oh, they supposed to be?
Yeah, it's in the Bible. You don't believe the Bible when it says to be perfect? You don't believe Jesus?
James.
Answer the question.
Jesse, man.
Answer it. Jesus said, Jesus said to be perfect, right? You know Jesus said be perfect?
Be perfect. Okay. It says to be perfect.
Yeah.
Okay?
And so you don't believe him?
Okay.
You don't believe him?
James? Are you a Christian?
No, not a perfect one.
Okay. So you're not a perfect Christian.
Right. Yeah. So I'm not like a real Christian.
Okay. So you're not. What's a fake Christian? Man?
A fake Christian is an imperfect Christian.
What you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
A fake fake Christian is an imperfect Christian.
Okay. But Jesse is exactly what a Christian should be, right? Perfect.
Say that again?
Make no flow. Jesse Peterson is the perfect Christian, right? He makes
you should talk to him about this. You should talk to him about this. No man, hold on, T. No man knows another man's heart but the man himself and God.
Well,
you know that, right?
You
know that?
Listen to what comes out of Jesse Peterson's mouth.
Yeah, the stuff that comes out of his mouth is perfect. It's biblical. It's real. It resonates. It rings true with the people that are real. But with fake people like you, They just don't get it, and they accuse him of being what they are.
Okay. All right, Jay. Man, I'm telling you, Jesse got
So-
your guys' mind.
Your mother got your mind. You think that she was perfect.
The other, there you go with the mother thing.
Yeah, because you haven't
like
forgiven your
Jesse.
mother, and you think you're a Christian.
Just like Jesse. You know.
Just like.
Straight con artist.
All right, T. I gotta go, man.
Yeah, I know you gotta go. Go around.
All right. Goodbye,
Bye.
T. Goodbye, you little beta male. All right. Let's see. Let me quickly get to Mitch out of Oregon. First time caller, Mitch. How are you, Mitch? Nice to hear from you.
What up? Yeah. If I ramble, will you indulge me?
Say that again.
No, sorry. Hey, I said if I ramble, will you indulge me?
Oh,
Anyway,
to a point. Are you on speakerphone?
Yeah, should I get off it?
Yes, always. Never, ever call the radio show with a speakerphone. Always just
What did they
regular
say?
phone.
My bad.
No Bluetooth, no
bad.
headset, no speakerphone, and
Good deal.
preferably no
I'm
earbuds.
well-versed
I'm
in
told.
etiquette now.
I'm told earbuds sound better. I don't really buy it.
Yeah.
I'll believe it when I
don't
see it
have
and hear
any,
it.
so.
Okay. Anyways, go for it, Mitch.
Hey, I just wanted to make a comment on the state of what I refer to as transients, or the homeless, the vagabonds, the tramps, the bums, the criminal element that drifts through our area.
Yeah.
Here in Southern Oregon, I live in Rogue River, which is situated between Medford and Grants Pass. Rogue River has around 2,000 people. And I'm not really sure about the number of transients, but a number of them are indigent through no fault of their own. Okay, and I'll just say that, and we'll let it go and not proselytize about that. I want to complain about the guys that go through the revolving drug door system of the jail.
Yeah.
They're out here doing these burglaries. They're out here leaving needles where kids can find them.
Yep.
Use needles where kids can find them. And the police are doing their best. We have a new police chief, and since we had him, they've cracked down quite a bit, but unfortunately there's no place to lodge these persons, and they keep returning to the area. And the only violence that I am aware of has been homeless on homeless or transient on transient so far.
That's interesting.
But, there's always a first time, and then
Right.
everybody clucks their tongues and shake their heads and go, oh, my, we should have done something. Well, but anyway, we had benches in our town. There's a lot of elderly people, such as myself, in this town, and a lot of infirm people and retired persons. And we used to have benches outside the pharmacy and at the public library and the VFW post.
Yeah.
And they're all gone now because they were hangouts for these individuals who would scream and rage and act out and break glass and defecate and let their animals loose and fight each other and make things miserable. But it's kind of like the privileges of the citizens in Rogue River were abrogated by,
Of course.
the rights of the so-called homeless. Criminals. I mean, the guys are criminals.
Yeah.
And on Thursday evenings from 1:30 till 7:30, 1:30 p.m. till 7:30 p.m., our library was open. Other days it's open at 10 a.m. And people were beginning not to come to the library and beginning to call the library and say they weren't sending their kids to the library.
Right.
Because of the transients hanging out in the front that were bombed and or aggressively seeking money.
Yep.
And, I was present just the other day when our chief of police arrested a person inside the library for a crime. Anyway,
It's crazy.
the people that need help, that seek help, and the ones that don't give up, they just piss all over everybody.
Yeah. That's what happens, man.
I'll tell you what. You know what it used to be back when I was a kid in L.A., Los Angeles,
Yeah.
San Fernando Valley. If you stepped out of line, it was called street justice. And I'm not advocating this to this degree, but I'm just saying this is the way it was. If it was something that would just be tying up the courts and messing up with the justice system, the cop would give you a look in the eye and say, well, you want to go home, or should I kick the shit out of you first? So that's what I say. Beat them all up and send them home. So they ain't got a home to go to. So I say, let's buy them a bus ticket and send them to Santa Monica.
Thanks a lot, man.
That's not an original idea.
Yeah, I know. A lot of them are ending up there. Wow, thank you, Mitch. How old are you that you're calling yourself elderly?
66.
Oh, okay. That's not
Yeah.
It's not exactly elderly.
All righty then.
I appreciate it, Mitch. Thank you, man. It's a mess all up and down the coast, like you said. All right, take care, man. Let me get to this story of this homeless man. Let me get to the story of this homeless man, or male, I should call him, grown adult, 24 years old, who is suspected in 4 murders of other homeless people. Like that guy said, it's homeless on homeless in this case. But that 7-year-old, that was not a homeless boy. He lived in front of it, looked like a nice home. But anyways, this guy who killed 4 homeless men and beat another homeless man almost to death. I reported about it maybe a week ago, or maybe Monday, I don't know. I don't know if it was that fast or if it was last week. But here's a look at the arrest record. It's kind of a long clip. Just listen through and watch and listen for the story of this nonprofit group that bailed him out because they're a homeless advocacy group, right? Bunch of liberals. And they're trying to do that here in LA too. They have this thing called gentrification sucks. And they're basically a whole bunch of homelessness advocates. Black liberals and liberals, communists and all that stuff. Listen to this story. It's crazy.
Another homeless man has come forward to say he too was attacked while sleeping, and police say they believe Randy Rodriguez Santos is responsible, the same man who viciously beat 5 homeless men sleeping on Chinatown streets over the weekend, killing 4 of them.
The individual was woken up being hit by an object. There was a physical confrontation where the individual believes that the possibility exists that he was being attempted to be thrown over the banister into the water.
Santos is charged with murder and attempted murder for using a piece of metal to beat the sleeping men in the head Saturday morning. This new case being investigated was reported to police on September 27th. It happened along the Hudson River near 23rd Street in Chelsea.
We have him approximately 7 blocks away. Very clear video who we believe is Mr. Santos on that evening. And we believe he was responsible for that attack at this point.
Santos reportedly has a history of mental health issues and drug abuse.
We have him with six arrests and a number of other sealed arrests. And I think we have one aided job where he was removed.
The 24-year-old was arrested for misdemeanor assault in the Bronx in 2017, but not prosecuted because the victim didn't cooperate. In February of this year, he was arrested for jumping a turnstile in Brooklyn. In March, he's accused of inappropriate touching at a homeless shelter in Queens. In both those cases, he didn't show back up to court or didn't meet counselors. Warrants were issued for his arrest. He did spend a few weeks behind bars. But in the Queens case, a non-profit group posted bail so he could be released. The mayor says it's hard to blame anyone in this tragic case, but says more is being done for homeless people with mental illness.
The NYPD, on our end, we do have the co-response units, where we have 2 police officers with a mental health professional that they go out each day and they visit people proactively to see that things are continuing to be okay for them and if they are in need of additional assistance.
Detectives want to know if there are other victims out there. They say anyone who thinks they may have been attacked by Santos should contact police.
That's from Spectrum News 1. News 1. Thank you to News 1 for that. Yeah, I think Nick nailed this guy. Dominican American psycho. Yeah, and you look at him, he looks off. He looks out of it. This 24-year-old guy that murdered 4 and beat one almost probably to, he was fighting for his life, last I heard, and probably attacked others. And that cop, that officer that, well, there was an officer that you were listening to. Actually, he's not an officer. He's an NYPD commissioner, James O'Neill, who was speaking. He was sitting next to the socialist mayor, Bill de Blasio, who is probably responsible, those two probably, are responsible for firing the guy who was so-called responsible for Eric Garner's death. Eric Garner is really responsible for his own death, to be honest. He was out of... Eric Garner being the fat black guy who was selling Lucy cigarettes back in 2014, July 17th, my birthday. But the guy grabbed him in a seatbelt hold, what he called a seatbelt hold. Other people called it a choke hold. And he ended up dying. But it's a big mess. De Blasio was trying to run for president. Some Black Lives Matter radicals and Women's March radicals, evil people, and an Al Sharpton flunky, I would call him, showed up to the Dem debate and protested and said, fire him. And then fire Eric, Officer Daniel Pantaleo, fire Pantaleo, who was the officer who took the guy down. He needed to be taken down. He was resisting arrest. And then, Eric Garner, that is. And then within a month of that, maybe less, maybe a little bit more, he was fired. There was some stupid human rights black judge internal to the NYPD, so filled with the swamp inside the police departments. So evil. It's so bad in the police departments that they're giving abortion pills to people who claim to be victims of rape. Anyways, real quick point, and then I will get back to the calls about this NYPD Commissioner James O'Neill. I read at the top of the hour, the third hour, on Hake News, not fake news, that have been a whole bunch of suicides, police suicides. I'm sure stuff like this isn't helping where they're not allowed to do their job. Pantaleo wasn't allowed to do his job. He got fired for doing his job. And then these homeless people running wild, killing and all that stuff. And plus, society in general is miserable, so that probably infects the police departments too. But 9 people so far, officers, have committed suicide, killed themselves, I think just this year, since January. I could be wrong. I think it's just this year. And an average of like 4 to 5 people in the NYPD have historically, at least in recent years, committed suicide. So it's like way up this year. And it becomes like a copycat crime. Like you see it, Satan talks to you, and then you do it too. Something like that. It's a mess. But this guy, James O'Neill, is talking to this CBS 2 reporter, talking about it's a mental health crisis. Because they don't believe in God or religion or whatever. They think it's all just mental. And so this woman, this female journalist, talked to him about showing weakness and vulnerability, and it's like the false solution, right? Where they want men to show weakness and vulnerability and get rid of this stigma. So this guy wants to get over the stigma, this James O'Neill guy. Police commissioners are usually the worst. They're usually the worst people in the organization. They're not real cops. They're just politicians, and usually liberals, it seems like. Police commissioners. So this guy, he said, confide in your partner, referring to like a police co-worker, and confide in your family, get help. And he said, come forward. But all this stuff that's basically going to, cops naturally know that you do that, you're going to get your gun and badge taken away. Well, in this time, they changed it so that you don't get your badge taken away. Because they're trying to do away with the stigma. But more and more people, like 1 in 5, I saw one Drudge headline, Americans think they're suffering from anxiety. So the liberals are swooping in with false solutions, the experts. False solutions to the suicide, false solutions to the homelessness, and all that. Anyways, Jason out of North Hollywood, California. How are you?
Yes, sir. What's up? How you doing? How you doing, James?
Doing fine.
Well.
Nice to hear from you.
Yeah. I was actually in there the other day, got a couple shirts.
Right on.
I'm wearing Jesse's face right now. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Nice. You can get that from the Fallen
just,
State Teespring store, guys, if you're out of town. Anyways, yeah.
You just said a funny little quote. You said it's Hake news, not fake news. You got to get a shirt that says that with your face on it now.
All right. Cool. Appreciate the tip.
Real cool. Yeah, real quick, I just wanted to ask a question. I was just listening to the report about that little kid getting tossed to the ground. How old was his brother? You said his brother ran inside?
You know, his brother ran inside. I don't know how old the brother was. I don't know if he was older or younger or what.
Something. But I was just wondering, all right, so say you're the father in that situation. You come running outside. When is it acceptable, to take action, like physical action, if at all? Would that be like, what if you're the father and you've seen someone toss your kid like that? What do you do?
You would beat that guy up and hold him down until the cops come,
that's
or
fine,
something.
Right? There's nothing wrong with it.
Right. I mean, it depends on. I mean, it all depends on the situation. You have to be in the situation to know what to do. But some people are not stable, emotionally stable, or mentally stable to where they handle it right. Maybe they go too far or too soft. People tend to be either too far or too soft. Like, it's like the situation where Joel was coming out of the theater after watching Joker. Shame on him watching Joker. But coming out, like, people started to freak out. And so the majority of people were freaking out, where Joel was the only one who's calm. So it's like 1 out of 100 or a few hundred who is going to have the proper sense of what to do in that situation. But the most people won't know how to deal with that right. They'll either be too weak or too strong.
All right. I was just wondering, a little random thought on that.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Jason.
All right, I'll see you on Sunday.
All right, see you in church. Take care.
All right, take care. Bye.
Yeah, church on Sunday, 11 a.m. Pacific time. It's the best church. And if you have issues, you don't have to confide in your partner. you can get over it. So I want to just talk a little bit more about this disgusting sex stuff that's going on in the culture that they're pushing. According to Drudge, this star of this TV show called Pose, he's a black guy, 50 years old, making a fool of himself. His name is Billy Porter, and I don't have any pictures of him. If you come across one, that's great. But this guy, Billy Porter, is a male, 50 years old, homosexual. That's embarrassing. He's going to play the fairy godmother of Cinderella. And I'm hoping not to spend too much time on this story, but it's just gross. And it's just the degradation, self-degradation of men, including black men. I noticed that they push any homosexual who's black or any transgender who's black, they push them to the forefront. Because they want the blacks to accept that stuff. Because they didn't used to. Even as bad, brainwashed as they were about racism, they didn't. Yeah, I saw that. That was awful. Joel's showing a picture of this guy. Oh my gosh! Don't even look. You'd have to close your eyes. But he's wearing a suit dress, is how Joel describes it, to the Oscars. And so the look of it is like, up on top, he's wearing like this blazer thing, suit, bow tie, of course, bow tie. Black people don't like to wear the long tie because it looks like a noose. Anyways, and then below, oh my gosh, change the picture. But below, he's wearing this big, old, long, wide dress thing. It's disgusting. And he showed up to the Oscars with his so-called husband, who's a white guy. And now he's going to play this so-called fairy godmother in Cinderella movie. And it seems to be a POC movie. Camila Cabello, who's a singer, is going to be playing Princess Cinderella. And I think she's Hispanic or something. Puerto Rican or something. And I joked in the news segment that it was POCs colonizing and appropriating white fairy tales. I mean, you can have them, right? Because I'm not that into Cinderella, of course. Because I'm a man. But they're promoting this stuff. You guys know who it is. Anyways, let me get to some more calls. And then I want to talk briefly about this Ronan Farrow situation. To me, it's a bunch of evil people fighting and attacking and accusing other evil people. But sometimes they attack decent people, or people at least who are trying to set a good example. Like they did Bill Cosby, tried to present a classy image before the public, tried to hide his past issues or his current issues, who knows? And they go after Trump, they go after decent people, Kavanaugh. Kavanaugh's not that decent, but he's not like what they're pretending that he was. He was just a rhino. He's just a soft beta male. So they go after decent, they sweep up all of it so that they can get rid of all of the men. That's why I didn't get all excited about this Weinstein or Epstein or Matt Lauer or even that guy who came out as gay, who was in charge of House of Cards. He wasn't in charge, but he was the star of House of Cards, Kevin Spacey. I'm not into accusations because, like, there's no proof. Anyways, let me get to Brian out of D.C., and then I'll get to that stuff. Brian, first-time caller, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How you doing?
I'm fine. No man is good, though.
That's true.
Anyway.
You were making fun of Joel for going to the Joker?
Yeah, I was I was jokingly shaming him because I don't really support that movie because, one, it's Hollywood. That's kind of beside the point. Two, it's Joaquin Phoenix, who always plays a weak person. I think he personally is a weak person. And then three, it has that guy who hates Trump, who used to be like a respected actor, Robert De Niro. And so even though I like the hype around it, and I like Joker, I liked Batman as a kid. Batman's not in this movie. Don't watch it. It's not for kids. But anyways, yeah, that's why I was messing with him on that.
So I agree with your second point. He's a weak character.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about like how this show and Jesse's show like addresses people when you talk to them. You say, did you grow up with both parents in the house? Did your mom let other men come in the house?
Yeah.
And it seems like they kind of snuck that single mom, abusive boyfriend type storyline into it.
Yeah.
Which normally they don't like to criticize women at all.
Right.
But I think the critics got so distracted because they're obsessed with race, which I watched it. There's nothing about race in it. But there was like a storyline about how, selfish single parents expose their children to abuse.
Yeah.
And he was a very weak character because he was so angry at his mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just think that the storyline kind of matches with what is talked about on the show a lot, which is, the ramifications of, being selfish and only caring about yourself and what that does to the children.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. Somebody, Cernovich had a little review of it that I read. Basically, the mother was a loser. So he wasn't just the loser. He was the son of a loser, his mother. And that was interesting. And
but if you don't like De Niro, don't worry. He doesn't come out too well.
Okay. Yeah, all kinds of spoilers have come out on the Jesse Lee Peterson show. Sorry, guys. Yeah.
But it's definitely not for kids, but as far as like seeing how people end up that weak and beta, we say.
Yeah.
Like it really shows, how that happens. Because a lot of people think someone that goes around and beats people up and kills people is tough.
Right.
That's actually the weakness coming through.
Yeah, this guy, from the trailer, because I watched the trailer, it looked like he went from a weak person trying to be nice to a weak person not trying to be nice, basically. Just snapped.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a clip, oh, you take care of your mama so good, and then he's just up there like preening and smiling, and I think you would be interested in it, but it is really gross and dirty at the same time.
Yeah. I appreciate that, Brian.
All right, thanks.
All right, take care.
Have a good one.
You too. Joel, you liked it? You loved this movie? Nick says Joaquin Phoenix is a legend. I mean, I kind of respect him a little bit, but he's just so weak all the time. Every movie. He was weak in Gladiator as the Emperor. He was like kind of in love with his sister. And then he was weak in that movie that I didn't really watch, but it had Mel Gibson in it, the Alien movie. He had a bat and like killed the alien or something. Maybe I'm butchering the story. He was weak in Johnny Cash. Like, I don't know why they thought he would be good for Johnny Cash. He was too broody and weak for Johnny Cash. I mean, he did an okay job. They taught him how to deepen his voice. And then he just looks like he's going to be weak in this. I'm like kind of interested in it, but I'm kind of resistant to it because I don't want to support that mess.
You know, it's crazy. Well, for one, I did a little review on my Instagram about
nice.
it too. I think it was on Monday, I did a review, and this guy Brian came on and said exactly what I said in the review. And you know, I didn't like it. I mean, I liked the movie for the same reasons, in the sense that, like, you know, it shows exactly how you become into this Joker. Like they told the story of exactly what, you know, a guy who's a killer, where it comes from. And I don't even want to spoil the movie, so I don't want to say too much.
Yeah.
But it's like, it shows exactly where it comes from. And I was shocked, too, that they even put that in there. But they had the story correct on how he became that. And then, yeah, I just thought it was overall. It was just, oh, and what's his name? The guy that, I don't like him either.
De Niro,
Robert De Niro. His role was so perfect in there that it fit him, who he is in real life.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. So then when I seen his character, it just it made sense why they chose him for that character.
Interesting.
But it was good. It was good in the sense that it's true.
Yeah.
A lot of things were true. But I mean, it's gory in some senses too. But I was just surprised that Hollywood painted a picture so clear like that. That was the shocker to me.
Yeah. All right. Appreciate that input, Joel.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let me quickly get to Trevor out of California. First time caller. Trevor, how are you?
The Hake report, la la la.
Nice.
What's up, bro?
Hey, this is the Trevor Wesley that. Oh shoot! I just outed him.
It is. It's the Trevor Wesley that.
You did the reprise of my intro song, and I'm not going to tell how much I paid for it, but thank you, man.
No, you better not.
Yeah.
No, yeah, man. I wanted to call in because I don't think I've ever called in the show before, Jesse's show, and figured I'd do the honors with the Hake report.
Thank you, man.
I just wanted to call because, I created this little clip yesterday from one of Jesse's 1995 videos.
Oh.
He was talking to some people back then, and it was about affirmative action and stuff like that.
I saw that.
A question,
Yeah.
maybe some advice. And, there's a lot of people that agreed, that thought it was an amazing post. And then there was, the few people that would attack and say that, as a white man, you shouldn't be talking about this type of thing.
Oh, I
so
hate
the
that
question is when people come at me, like, I'm not a history buff, I don't, and it seems like these days there's so many versions of different history narratives that people run with. And one of the things I noticed, like, because there's a friend of mine that was on there, and he didn't have anger, and I admired that, and that because I was different than most of the people. But he had a lot of history, that he mentioned and brought up, and saying that, like, instead of listening to a bunch of guys that aren't informed about real history, you're going to read the history books, and it's like, how do you combat that? Like.
That's a good question. What I tend to do, because the clip that you posted, it sounded like one guy who was mixed race black, I think he was a fireman, saying that he benefited from, it was a talk show, the Jesse Peterson show from the 90s. And this guy was in a panel, and he was saying that he benefited from affirmative action. And then this old dude, Doyle, he was part of Bond early on. I don't think I ever met him. But this old dude, Doyle, was like, he always wears the hat. And he's like, if you benefited from affirmative action, you ain't worth the salt that you put on your food.
Exactly. It's so funny.
And he just goes off because it's like two black guys. One is a real old school and real black guy. Couldn't read or write, but he ran his own business. And I don't know what type of history they're trying to tell you or tell about affirmative action.
Affirmative action, you know, saying how and why it was necessary. And it's like, at one hand, that's like, I agree that there probably was a time when, you know, when the laws were changed in, you know, the society, you know, like Sammy Davis Jr. was coming out in the world with Frank Sinatra, and they're advocating for blacks and whites to get together. And at least that's the way I saw it.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I know that there was probably a reason for it, but then it's like, look, what's interesting was that 25 years ago, that clip, they were having that conversation.
Yeah.
But it seems like a conversation that would be had right now, and it would be the same conversation.
Exactly.
So 25 years later, we're still talking about the same thing.
Yeah, I'm suspicious of the whole basis of affirmative action ever. I don't, like you, I don't know history. Like, for example, some guy, Matt, who loves our show, he was shaking his head at me because I said that Britain, the UK got Hong Kong after the World War II or something, but it wasn't real. I think they got Hong Kong in the 1800s, 1840 or something like that. So, like, sometimes I don't know history, but you and I and anybody else.
If we say I don't know history, then we lose, because in the eyes of the sheeple, they're like, oh, well, there it is. That's why you're so ignorant. You don't know history. But they miss the point about it's okay that regardless of who's right or wrong in history, the key is that I understand is to not hate it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I'm Irish, but it's like when I hear about Irish stories, and I know it was not close to what black slavery when that was, but it's like I don't have any invested passion to care that much, you know? So I just notice certain people care so much, even if you're wrong about history or whatever. But
yeah, I would say you and I, we have common sense about the present times, and these people who pretend to know history, some of them, they can't even interpret the present times. They're Trump haters. They believe in this racism thing like way too much. And so what matters is right now, and the principles that that guy laid on that guy back in the 90s, that is valid. These people didn't need, during Jim Crow, when they didn't have affirmative action, these guys were owning businesses, owning land. They were elected to government even during Jim Crow. And so we're taught a caricature of history that is pushed by the liberal agenda, the so-called anti-racist people. And
yeah, no, it totally makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I get it. And I guess it comes across weird because people, I am a white, straight, cushion male.
Yeah.
And so when people see me say something, it's like, I guess the context of that throws people off. Like one thing he said was when I brought up the families and stuff, and how Jesse talks about that, children had both parents and stuff like that, and he was saying that in slavery they would separate the families.
That's not completely true.
That,
yeah.
If they did enslave slavery, that may be true. Why is it that in those Jim Crow eras the families were together with
exactly
after slavery?
Yep.
And what was it when I brought up the government kind of issues of playing daddy and stuff like that? That's when he kind of was like, well, you gotta watch what you say, kind of approach. He still didn't have anger, but it was still like, hey, be careful,
Right. I think that these these intellectuals get traumatized to believe in the whites shouldn't have anything to say and better be careful about what they say. And you heard Jesse interview that teacher earlier this week with his class. The teacher said, "I teach my students not to make blanket statements." And Jesse says, "You can say whatever you want, students. Don't let anybody tell you what not to say." And so,
exactly. That's why I said that to some people that were like, "You can't say that." I was like, "Last I checked, I was in America."
Right. Exactly.
If you want to go live in a country where you're jailed for someone saying something, then go ahead.
It's a very communist thing to go outside of people's field of expertise. That's why a lot of these people, these intellectuals, try to gain up as much knowledge as they can. And then they bring up facts, and a lot of their facts have nothing to do with the point that you're making, but they try to intimidate people with all their knowledge. And Jesse's a simple man, but he just he's not wrong about anything that he says, the main points that he says.
And that's a good point, too, that I admire about Jesse is that it's so easy sometimes when you talk about affirmative action, it's easy to troll off into history about other stuff, and you end up just talking about history, and it's like, just as good at like staying with me here, about this affirmative action, when it's easy to get tied up to how affirmative action is, just other reasons and stuff. So, but you're right about the present times, but I don't want to take up all your time.
I appreciate it, Trevor. Nice to hear from you, man.
Yeah, man, I appreciate taking my call, man, and God bless, man.
All right, take care.
Take care.
Let me get to KT out of DC. He's been waiting a while. KT, how are you doing?
I am good. What's going on, James? Hake, great to talk to you today.
Everything's fine, thank you. No man is good.
Oh, right. No man's good. But I just wanted to make a comment about the discussion you had with Jesse this morning about men looking at women.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. It's so interesting and funny at the same time how what's his name, Joel, and the producer,
Nick,
kind of brought in other aspects of the question. It kind of reminded me how Jesse asked people about, do you love white people? But they can't answer the question directly. They start going, "Oh, I love all people."
Right.
So it's just kind of funny how Joel and Nick were talking about lust, and yet Jesse was asking about just looking,
Right. Yeah, I think.
But it was a great conversation.
Yeah, it was. It was fun because it just shows the trauma that's been inflicted on men. One, because men have been brainwashed to be so lustful, and like it's pushed on men right now with the way that they dress and all that stuff. And, over sexualizing. And then, two, they're browbeating the men for being lustful, which is what they were trained to be. and then they're also browbeating the men who may not even be thinking that way. And so, like, men, I've noticed that men, like, are nervous to be around women or kids because they don't want to look like they're coming off in a weird sexual way. Because men have been branded intentionally or unintentionally, to be branded like they're rapists, child predators, and all that madness. It's so wrong. It's taken away the innocence of just living without thinking about that stuff. Yeah.
I know. And something else funny happened. I was actually listening to the show today, and I was going to go pay my parking ticket, and there was this big black woman, kind of looked like that woman who cried about racism and being obese.
Yeah.
But, so I handed her money, and she was like, "Oh, thanks for the change, boo-boo." And I was like, "Oh, call me boo-boo."
Did you tell her anything for calling you boo-boo?
No, I was like, okay, you're welcome.
That's funny. Yeah, Jesse does not let people do that. When anybody,
I know, right?
Yeah, he considers that very patronizing by the women, that they're trying to call him, that they try to really demean black men by doing that, and they call everybody that.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not just black men; they'll call anybody.
Baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't take that. I do not take that.
Yeah.
But anyway,
That's funny,
thanks for taking my call, James. Enjoying the show as always. Keep up the great work, and we'll be here supporting.
Thank you, KT. Appreciate that, man. Take care.
And shout out to Joel.
Right on, Joel.
All right.
All right. You too. I'm going to get to this Me Too thing on Sunday. I'll touch on it. But basically, long story short, it's one-sided against the men. They're not holding the women responsible. Reminds me of the Jew blamers who want to blame the Jews, or like the liberals who only want to blame the whites and let the blacks get scot-free. They treat blacks like they're animals. Both sides of them actually do. Like they can't think for themselves. It's a shame. So they're doing that to the women. They're pretending the women can't think or fight for themselves or draw lines or be sane enough not to freaking get drunk with a man if you don't want to be doing that stuff. Stupid. I'm referring to Matt Lauer's accuser. And I'm no fan of Matt Lauer. But Maze and Rick and the rest of you guys, I'm sorry I can't get to you. Appreciate you calling in. I'll talk to you Sunday, hopefully. 9 a.m. on Hake's channels. And I stream on YouTube, Periscope, D Live. Shout out, guys. The Hake Report on D Live. Mixer, Twitch. And did I mention Facebook? I'm on Facebook too. Facebook is censoring Jesse's radio show because of fake hate speech. And so is Twitch for fake hate speech. When if they would have let Jesse on there, maybe he would have prevented that German white terror attack. But no. All right. See you guys. By the way, the Fallen State today, noon Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern. Go to the Fallen State YouTube channel. And of course, Church on Sunday and my show on Sunday too. All right, guys. Bye.